Welcome to the news update on AFRICUNIA television, bringing you update from around the world from our studio in the nation's commercial capital, Lagos, Nigeria. I am Deborah Ezeh, and many thanks for joining me. We begin from Nigeria. The federal government on Thursday said demands by the Academic Staff Union of Universities to be paid salaries for the 6-month strike period is stalling its negotiation with the union. This was as the federal government insisted that it would not concede to the ASUU demands to be paid the backlog of salaries withheld within the period. Minister of Education Adamu disclosed this to journalists at the 47th section of the State House Ministerial Media Briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the ASUU Rock Villa, Abuja. He denied receiving a 2-week ultimatum from the President Buhari, adding that he successfully concluded his work 1 week after meeting the President on July 18th. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Universities on Thursday said it would not call off its strike until the salary arrears of its members were paid. The university lecturers also said they would not teach students to make up for 6 months they had been on strike if the federal government failed to pay for the period of strike. The union national president, Professor Emmanuel Shodeke, disclosed this in response to a statement made by the Minister of Education, Adamu. And now moving on, flash flood triggered by heavy rains continue to tear up homes across Sudan this week, with the death toll rising to 66 since the start of the rainy season. Earlier this week, authorities had said that at least 50 people were killed since the rain started in June. Brigadier General Abdul Jalil Abdul Rahim, spokesman for the Sudan National Council for Civil Defense, said Tuesday that at least 28 people were reported injured during the same period. Some 24,000 homes and 2,000 government buildings have been badly damaged or completely destroyed, he said. Overall, around 136,000 people have been impacted by heavy rainfall and floods in 12 of Sudan's 18 provinces, according to the government-run Humanitarian Aid Commission. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's government has described as unethical the statements by the World Health Organization's Director General that the crisis in the country's Tigray region is the worst disaster on earth, and his assertion that the lack of attention from global leaders may be due to Tigrayan skin color. The spokeswoman for Ethiopia Prime Minister on Thursday told journalists that the comments made by the Chief Tedros Adhanom were unbecoming of such a high-profile position. Berlin Seyum suggested that Tedros himself, an ethnic Tigrayan, should rescue himself from his post if he wants to talk that way. The WHO chief, in an emotional statement on Wednesday at a press briefing, asserted that 6 million people in Tigray have been under siege for the last 21 months because of the conflict that erupted there in late 2020 between Ethiopian and Tigray forces. Ethiopia's government has said it is willing to hold talks anytime, any place, but led by its preferred mediator, the African Union Special Envoy. Now, still on the African scene, Angolans head to the polls next week in what is likely to be a tense standoff between a ruling party in power for nearly 5 decades and an opposition with growing appeal to frustrated, impoverished youth. The MPLA, led by João Lourenço since 2017, has governed Africa's second biggest oil producers since independence from Portugal in 1975. But long-time opposition party UNITA is stronger than ever as anger grows at government failures to convert vast oil wealth into better living conditions for all. Angola, one of the world's most unequal nations, will on August 24th elect a new president and lawmaker in its 5th multi-party election since the first in 1992. We now go on a short break, and when we come back, it's updates making the rounds on the foreign scene. Stay with me. now welcome back. Updates from the foreign scene. London's transport network grind to a halt on Friday as tube and bus workers strike over pay and conditions. The latest in the summer of labour market disputes as double-digit inflation eats into wages. Severe disruption was expected on all London underground lines. London Overground services would be reduced and dozens of bus routes in the west of the city would not run as normal. Transport for London TfL said. Now, tens of thousands of workers from the wider national rail network walked out on Thursday and will do so again on Saturday. Commuters across the country have already endured disruption from rail strike this year, organized by unions over pay and conditions for their members that better reflect the soaring cost of living caused by energy price-driven inflation. Trade union RMT said the underground strike was in response to a lack of assurances about jobs and pension from TfL. Now moving on, Torrential rains hit part of New Zealand for a fourth day on Friday, forcing hundreds of people from their homes as rivers overflowed their banks and waterlogged ground become unstable. Nelson, on the north coast of the South Highland, has been worst affected with more than 400 homes evacuated and some declared uninhabitable because of the rains. Weather forecaster Met Service said Nelson had 172 millimeters of rain since Tuesday, which is more than double its average August rainfall. Another 190 millimeters is expected to fall in the hills near Nelson over the next day. Nelson residents are being told to save water because of problems with the city's water system. The Civil Defense Service is also warning people to stay away from the coast because of a 3-meter surf on some beaches. The New Zealand Defense Force has personnel helping with evacuation and flood prevention work. Still on the foreign scene, North Korean President or leader Kim Jong-un held a ceremony to thank and praise military medics for spearheading the country's fight against the coronavirus in the capital Pyongyang, state media said on Friday. Now, thousands of medics of the Korean People Army who had been dispatched to the emergency anti-epidemic front were discharged after Kim declared victory over COVID-19 and eased restriction last week. Kim held the event at the April 25th House of Culture in Pyongyang on Thursday to celebrate the medics' heroic feats on the front line of the COVID battle in the country's most populated city. North Korea has never confirmed how many people caught COVID, apparently lacking the tools to conduct widespread testing. We now head to the sports scene. Manchester United are close to agreeing a £59.2 million deal for Real Madrid midfielder Casemiro, but have had a £67.6 million bid rejected for IS winger Anthony. United are set to pay the Spanish Giants initial £50.7 million for Casemiro, with £8.5 million in add-ons, while the Brazilian has a 4-year contract with the option of a further 12 months at Old Trafford on the table. But the move is unlikely to be completed in time for the 30-year-old to be available for Monday night's home game against Liverpool, as it requires a visa. Casemiro is greatly appreciated by Real boss Carlo Ancelotti, but is reportedly not viewed as indispensable given the wealth of options the Champions League holder have in the center of the pitch. And finally, Barcelona's senior leadership group will not be taking a pay cut this season. Marca says Barca have met recently with the representative of Sergio Bosch Quest, Gerard Piqué and Jordan players. The two parties have met in recent days in an attempt to find a mutually satisfactory solution, but it has not been possible. Piqué has already taken several salary reductions, either by deferring payment or directly reducing his wages. And that concludes the news update on AFRICUNIA television. Do follow all our social media platforms displaying on your screen to stay connected and updated to our news and other programs. Once again, I am Deborah Ezeh. Have a beautiful weekend.